Folks, welcome back to the CCL 2022 Bravo stream. And here, joining myself, Seymour, on the desk is going to be Mick for the last match of the day between University of Windsor Gold Team and the Grand Valley State University Lakers. It's going to be a good one, Mick. Welcome to the cast, and how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing all right, man. Sat there, had the opportunity to cast a really good matchup earlier with St. Clair and old Northwood, but now to come over here onto the Bravo stream, go ahead and get some more rounds in. I'm just looking forward to it all.
Us all, and we apologize for the wait as well. We were just getting these teams situated, getting them into here. So we're here now with the University folks and the Grand Valley State folks. So this is going to be a big one indeed, because Windsor coming off a 3-2 loss against St. Clair, the opposing Windsor College as well, both Canadian teams. And as we head into the head-to-head, we will see the record as University of Windsor. They did lose today, but like I said, it was Game 5 to St. Clair, a top 25 team in the CCL, Mick. That is a statement.
Yeah, I mean, that shows that, honestly, we don't have too much on GV just yet, but for Windsor to go ahead and get themselves some stats on the board, especially against the likes of a titan like St. Clair, that is a really good statement to go ahead and be bringing into this matchup. Sure, they already had a match coming into this, but I'm sure after having such a good series, after such a good team, I'm sure they're all riled up once again.
And it's going to be important to see them as well. So why don't we take it to this, Mick, and introduce our home team in Grand Valley State University Lakers. You know, making their way into this one another year, but kind of joining themselves now. Purge, Joke, Brooks, and Infamous. And in the 21 season, the Grand Valley State University had two separate rosters. So now in the main league, they're going to have one. And, you know, representing these four players, how are they looking?
I mean, honestly, the way they've looked so far from the last season, we can't have too much of a read on them, quite honestly. I mean, when we're talking about the pace of the game being changed up from Vanguard, from Cold War, and everything that on the field that just really has such a large dynamic change, there's not really too much we can read just yet, but I'm really excited just off that alone to go ahead and see what kind of differential we're going to see and whether or not GV is going to go ahead and start knocking things out once they get themselves into the game.
And now we take a look over at the opposite side of the field. Your away team matching up against Grand Valley State University. It's the University of Windsor Gold Team coming out of Windsor, Ontario. Misty, Conundrum, Bobby Soxers, and Cure. These four players going to be fielding a brand new Windsor roster going into the 2022 season of the CCL. And it's looking like a mighty fine upgrade. The fact that they can take already a top 25 team to game number 5.
Yeah, I mean, most definitely. Definitely a big change to go ahead and have on your hands. We have an entirely new roster. I'm sure you're going to be having a new IGL, new feels. I mean, just new direction in terms of the entire program and what they're looking for. But, I mean, overall, when you find yourself already getting into a matchup, you have a little more experience. You can already get that game plan. You can already get a little bit more context of how you're going to feel across the game. So, I want to say they have a tiny bit more of an edge, but it all comes down to preparation here for week 1.
It definitely does, especially when you're meeting some of these teams for the probably first time. And maybe not a lot of time to scrim them as well, but for this series between both of these teams, Mick, I want to start with the home team and the Lakers. Talk to me a little bit about their keys to victory.
I mean, also when it comes around to their key to victory, man, I mean, the Lakers, they got to go ahead and just kind of be a little more consistent. I know that was a big word that you and I sat there and said back and forth over and over again. A very consistent point is going to be consistency, and we're going to mention that a lot. Being on the hard point. They had themselves a pretty good hard point. I mean, looking from last season, and we really can't draw too many stats over from it, but hard point is just going to be the name of the game, regardless of this week 1. I mean, sure, we just sat there and mentioned pretty recently that we're going to be having a rule set change here the next week, possibly looking at some control, but as of right now, you got to come out swinging. You got to make sure your hard point looks darn good, and you can go ahead and make sure to get yourself a lot of rounds off it to close out a series.
And it kind of goes hand in hand with the University of Windsor team as well. I mean, I think that in my mind, the Game 5 against St. Clair changes my keys to victory with them a little bit. And now University of Windsor, you know, taking both of the hard points against the top 25 team, that's where that consistency is starting to show already early with this brand new squad. And if they've been scrimming together for quite a while, which I know they have, you know, at the end of the Cold War, I've seen this team be fielded, but in their kind of new debut of this roster in CCL, if they can keep that hard point consistent here, Grand Valley State University are going to have a hard time in those respawns. So let's take a look at the maps now that we're going to be playing for this series. Another best of 5, everyone. The last best of 5 here on the Bravo stream, Mick. Starting off on Gavatu, but take us through the rest of it.
I mean, looking at the rest of this, I mean, honestly, it really just comes down to being a toss-up if you really feel me on that. I mean, looking at the search and destroy on Tuscan, there's a lot of different variety when it comes around to the map. You have yourself a nice little lineup when it comes around to the A-bomb. You have yourself also the same thing on the other side of the field. I mean, there's just so much diversity, a lot to really look at. And then even then, I just like the variety in terms of every single map because, I mean, we've seen a lot of teams want to double down a lot, go ahead, only get 2 maps in the pool. But to see 3 different maps here tonight, I'm hoping to go to a game 5 by some chance.
As am I, and one thing that was very paramount to the St. Clair Windsor game today were the O2 and S&D game count. And if this does go to a game 5, Windsor, if they want to improve on anything going into this matchup against the Lakers, the Lancers, they really want to focus on improving those search and destroys. So that's not going to be the name of the game right now. The name of the game at the moment is Hardpoint on GVSU as we are taking a look at the cinematics, Mick. And this map, it's been a little bit since Vanguard came out, and GVSU's been here from the start. Had a little bit of, I guess, some negative reviews at the start, but it's really grown on me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely with you. I honestly, I'm one of those players who loved it from the start. I mean, over there on the shores, you get yourself a wide open lineup. You have yourself a lot of close quarters combat for those sub players there towards the middle of the map. But even then, you still have those open lineups to go and back them up. And even there on the top of the boat, you can get yourself a long line of sight. If you're those AR players, you can get yourself to be almost an oracle across the entirety of the map. But as we go ahead, see ourselves getting on to P1, we already see some frags come out from the side of GVSU. You get themselves not some time, but at least a contention.
The Lakers quick 3 now, converting this into time. Purge is going to find Misty. A hot start that you needed from the Lakers in their debut to the 2022 season. And you see off spawn, Windsor setting up for the break, but they just cannot siege this beach. Joke's going to find Bobby Soxers in for the contestation. Finds the second, 4 in a row now, working for that glide bomb. Nobody going to be around the corner. Nobody can be contesting him just yet. But you find this 5 and get this glide bomb right off the bat, Mick. That is a stylish start from Joke.
Oh, most definitely is. And looking at a lot of sites on this map, I mean, they're all wide open. They have open air. They don't really have a roof on their heads. You have yourself really nowhere to run for cover from those glide bombs. So it's going to be really influential, especially if you want to go ahead and save it for those, money hills like P4, P5. Some great spots to go ahead and just flush out with that kill streak. It's going to be a great way to go ahead and shift the momentum to the other side.
As it is Joke now, 6 in a row, strafing run locked down, 45 uncontested seconds. For the Lakers, finally Windsor get a few on the board, but instantly Bobby Soxers a team kill, and that's going to be a big misstep to allow Lakers back into this hill. You can see it on the mini-map. This LST ship is where we are going to be seeing this next hill, and Windsor just around the cusp of it. Infamous going to find Conundrum, doubles down with Brooks. Purge not having to do a whole lot on the inside of this, just soaking up the time one by one. And Windsor yet to get into this 2 seconds early, but since those 2 seconds, since the start of this game, they have been struggling to what the Lakers are bringing.
Oh, they most definitely have. I mean, only finding themselves 2 seconds, that's a massive way to go ahead and start your game. If you're looking to go ahead and lose here soon, I mean, I'm not trying to go ahead and really just put them on the table and fry them up, but, I mean, as it looks right now, Windsor really has to step it up, and I think it's just in terms of the slaying department where you see a lot of their players aren't even really dropping more than 3 kills so far. Meanwhile, that's the Lakers' bottom frag, and it's Infinite sitting at 3-1, so he's just playing really slow. Meanwhile, the rest of the team, they're just going on these sites, and they're absolutely putting in some work.
Look at Missy making the hot wraparound. Is going to find Joke from behind. Not going to be spotting out Infamous just yet. In fact, Infamous wraps around back to where Joke was. Is going to get the trade on a Misty, and look at that. Make 4 down again. Lakers going to hop right into this hill, and this is where things get a little bit dangerous. We talked about this hill number 3 and how much it can be a money hill in this situation.
Almost definitely can. I mean, P3 most especially, but even more so P4. I mean, those two just alone, you can find yourself so much time. It just comes down to how well you set up your spawns. Get yourself close enough, get the rotations there, because the way they lock out for the opposing side really just makes it take a country mile for you to even get a chance to contest that site, and it's just a lot of work for almost nothing if you don't really get the breach through. So as we see, P3 already kind of coming into expiration. We see P4 coming to fruition, and already Windsor ready here for the setup.
Yeah, Joke was spearheading that push. Is going to be cut down by Bobby Soxers. Cure watching the rotation, set up for cutoff, but listen to that. Glide bomb falling from the sky is going to be the opening that they need. Doubles down with the grenade. Joke is going to take Misty off the board, but look at Cure watching that cross. Is able to find not just 2, but a 3rd on the rotation. Joke now the last alive, and Bobby Soxers going to take him down. Excellent follow-up from UWindsor. This is time that they very much needed, Mick.
An excellent follow-up, and more importantly, an excellent answer. I mean, they already found themselves getting the glide bomb onto the field. You saw GVSU trying to go for some kind of push, but now it looks like they're actually going to go ahead and follow through with that breach. Able to get some time onto the board, able to at least contest, even though it was only like 2 seconds they got. But now they're picking up the scrap time. They're making their lead that much more defined, and they're really putting themselves into a good stage to just follow through with the game, rotate to P1, and just rinse and repeat at this stage.
Yes, it is. We're looking at the rotation now to Docs. It is going to be a race. Infamous, the first one there. In the back line, though, you still see Windsor with those antenna spawns. So they are going to be able to reinforce the hill time and time again. Getting there, that's the hard part. Brooks is going to find Conundrum. Infamous dodging these projectiles as they fall into the map. Here comes the break around the corner. Missy, Bobby Soxers, they double down. That's the opening they need. Conundrum a third. There's the break for Windsor and a setup for them to start getting time.
Yeah, most definitely is. They just got to find a little bit more to be working off of. They got to go ahead and find some momentum, get comfortable on this site more importantly, and also win some frags at the same time. It all comes down to whether or not you find these kills right there. Bobby Soxer's looking for a little bit of shots there on the outside, but he's not going to find enough. With the rest of the team already on the site, it's not going to be enough reinforcement there for them to really hold it down because GVSU is reading them like a book. Even the wall break, just a reaction there was good enough for them to go ahead and get the frag, go ahead and contest the time a little bit, and make it that much harder for them to get a lead.
And this book just seems like it is in the class that Lakers are definitely prepared for. They have it on lock. 15-9 for Purge. Going into the second set of rotations. Joke, 13-7. These players, pillars right now for the Lakers. Lead at the moment, 150 and counting. Windsor, they find a big two. That might be the opening. Joke tagged up, is going to walk away with one. Bobby has to respect the gunfight. And on the inside of this, while all this is going down, Lakers still collecting time, Mick.
Yeah, they most definitely are, and that's a problem. Sure, you're grabbing yourself some frags, you're trying to get onto the field, but you're trying. That's the thing. You can't try at this stage. You have to do. When you look at GVSU, how much of a lead they have right now, when you look at that kill feed, just reading blue to white, left to right. I mean, out here with the bars, out here with the guns, out here with the skills and the points, everything's stacking up for them. Right now, the Lakers are looking good. Yes,
they are. Purge watching for the scrap time. And if you look at the mini-map, Windsor, they are locking down the LSD ship right now. This Purge is going to rip Kira off that heady. Answer back from Conundrum. Off spawn, you see Kira and Bobby Sox just racing to reinforce this rotation. As Windsor, once again, were the first ones here, but they've struggled to hold on before Mick. And Lakers, they open up with two to get right back in.
They most definitely are. They're looking for a little bit of a momentum, a little bit of an opportunity to be working off of. And honestly, it doesn't look like they're finding too much. Sure, they grabbed themselves P2, but when you look at the reset there, that's going to be a great little double down for them. Problem is, spawns are fairly close. You haven't locked those down. You have so many players that are locked onto the side. You really have Kier out there on the side looking at P4 right now, and that's a big problem because you really don't have too much of a setup. You need to go ahead and get more momentum towards the middle of the map, create a little bit more contention, and so far, GVSU has such an easier rotate that they're really just going to frag out here, but Windsor still able to maintain a lot of time from this hill so far.
It's the best time we've seen so far on GVSU. So way back into this now, momentous. But they had to flip these spawns early. Kira's going to have to trade Infamous, looking to work a route now into the back line. Not sure if the Lakers are aware of this. As Kira's actually slipped behind enemy lines now, looking to uproot this player from the inside of the hill. But while this is all happening, he's losing players fast. It's finally spot out. Kira's going to drop in. Lakers are going to have a very controlled setup on the beach.
Oh, they most definitely will, and that's a big problem for the likes of Windsor, who's looking to go ahead and get themselves back into this game, looking to turn it around because their deficit is just absolutely massive right now. When you have Purge there in the top, just absolutely bodying players, it's going to make it that much harder because that's just a huge cutoff. You're having to run across the entire beach of Normandy right now, and it's such a large breach to take that you're just getting stalled left and right. You're worrying about kills instead when you need to get yourself onto the site, which GVSU has been holding down and can close out with.
They can close it out indeed. Conundrum's going to fall. Crossing this beach has been a tough task. Purge around the corner is going to take him down once more. Nobody close to touch this out. 8 seconds left and last chance for Windsor to get a foot on this hill, but it doesn't seem like anybody is anywhere close as Conundrum's going to fall. So is Windsor on the first map. A very convincing win, 250 to 113 to open up the series out of the Lakers' hands.
Yeah, just a really good start for me. We even talked about Windsor, how great they were looking against the likes of old St. Clair, but I mean, it's just seeming like it's not going to be enough in terms of the hard point. We mentioned consistency for old GVSU, and they definitely came out swinging. I mean, you can look at those scores as we go ahead and have a little bit of flash of them. Just great stats across the board out of them. Not outstanding by any means, where I could see them facing up against Titans and shutting down Northwood or Ottawa or something like that, but definitely a good start to their season to go ahead and get themselves a first map.
And especially when you're comparing this to a Windsor team who took the hard points off of a top 25 St. Clair Saints. So the fact that Lakers come out with such a heavy-handed GVSU hardpoint, maybe it's just not Windsor's practiced map for hardpoint, but it's a very thin map pool, so I would hope that GVSU has been on the mind of this Windsor team. But we look at the stats back from that map number 1. I highlighted Purge and I highlighted Joke. Purge finishing off 18 and 14 with 21 uncontested or untraded kills, both almost 3,000 damage as well. And, you know, not just to highlight Joke sitting 18 and 10, but Brooks alongside that 18 and 16 for themselves. Infamous, only +1, but it's enough to get the job done for the Lakers. When you look across the board and you look at University of Windsor Gold Squad, not a very flashy one for the rest of them. Cure, the only one positive, 19 and 16. And he only dropping 22,000 damage as well. You're going to need the stats to kind of elevate from Windsor if they want to go toe-to-toe with this Lakers squad.
Yeah, we saw some relatively similar damage from both squads. I mean, Windsor not really being too shy of that, but that's the big problem. Sure, you can go ahead and follow through. You can get some damage on the board, but you got to finish it. You got to translate those two eliminations. You got to get your presence on the board, on the map, and get some kind of points on the scoreboard to really just prove what it's worth. I mean, you don't find any of that. It all looks like it kind of goes to nothing because this isn't any kind of other game where you don't regen. This is Call of Duty. You go ahead and stay on the side for about 5 seconds. You're going to be right back to 100. And that's a big problem if you're not really getting your kills, not following through, and you can't really get those assists from your teammates there on the side who are going for an alternative avenue. So, I mean, great way for Purge to go ahead and open up this game. Great for an SMG player, especially when you're getting that kind of fragability, because especially in S&D, which we're going to be going to, you want to have that player have that aggression. Make sure to go ahead and have an answer on a site or at least get that bomb down quick enough to where nobody can really answer.
That's a great way to transition over to our map number 2 for Search and Destroy. You highlight the submachine guns. I couldn't agree more. Tuscan, it's a slippery one. It is a lot of close gunfights when you're looking at the overextension, the fight in Church, and even the rotations that you sometimes see the defenders kind of run it down mid to try to get a flank on your attackers, but it is nothing short than aggressive in this side of this map. You will see the assault rifle players, even the sniper players, set up inside those windows, set up down that hill number 1 in the fields, and they will have quite a back and forth with trading shots. But I'm going to be looking, like you've highlighted, at those submachine gun players to cut the distance and make things snappy.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, those SMGs really are going to play a massive role here. You go ahead, you get a lot of influence towards the Church. Middle of the map is absolutely massive here, especially on this map. I mean, you want to go ahead, get yourself right into the player's face. You're going to be holding that bomb site that's so close to the middle. Or even then, once you go to roof side, once you go to the alternative bomb site, you're going to see a lot of pressure. You're going to see a lot of indoor scenarios. That bomb's going to be really easily contested. You can answer really quickly and make sure to have your SMG players excel there for those kinds of trades, just to make sure that fuse can last a little bit longer. But I mean, overall, I mean, you're just kind of looking to whatever can give you the freest win. Look at the scoreboard, look at their players, see who's not really performing in the game so far. Either A, really manipulate that and go to the sight line where they're going to sit there and excel. And even then, if they're not fragging out, it's not the big a deal. You're just going to get yourself a free push to sight. And as we already see everybody going to A.
Bobby going for the quick plant. Uncontested right now. Look at the overextension from Lakers, and it's going to be caught by Conundrum. Watching the overextension is good for 2. That's the numbers now. 2 Windsor with the time in your hand, as well as Infamous has to finesse his life to stay alive so that this player can get back hand in hand. Bobby, look for the extension through Church. He's going to have Brooks, swings on out, and he flies for a round 1 win.
A really quick one at that. I mean, we saw a lot of pressure there towards A. We just saw the bomb go down immediately. We saw players with laser vision, and that's a big problem. Sure, you get yourself to work sometimes when it comes around to some of these teams, but I mean, more experienced players, more experienced teams, they're not going to let that slide too easily. And even then, I'm sure Windsor is looking to go ahead and make adjustments right now because GVSU is not going to let that slide too many times. So overall, as you make the adjustments, you get yourself on the other side of the field. You're looking to go ahead and answer, get yourself back on the board as we get ourselves possibly to a 1-1 if GVSU is just equally aggressive.
Well, here, Joke takes the long way around. Bobby actually denied of the contention through mid. So Brooks allowed to get this bomb down for Lakers. You look at Bobby cooking this nade. The bank not going to be there at all. With that time down, a 4-on-4. Bobby has to check to his left. There's a player going to be here. Doesn't check it deep enough, and that's going to be Joke pulling first blood, Vic.
Most definitely is going to be a great little way to start up this round, especially for the likes of GVSU. Getting it also a double down, find themselves 2 frags. It's going to be a great start, give themselves a lot of man advantage, and also get that power. Knowing that bomb is down, they also had the time ticking into their favor. They're just going to play out time. Hopefully they don't get picked off too much, but Joke has already sat there and fell as a victim.
Ooh.
And maybe with the trades coming out there, GVSU's looking even better.
Missy almost found a second, but now Cure, last one alive, trying to make the hot route around, but caught in the crossfire. As that's going to be Lakers answering back with an attacking round of their own, which I was very interested on. You know, that Brooks plant right off the bat, mimicking Bobby Soxers to get that bomb down immediately. I like Joke's position as well, playing deep into that courtyard, pulls first blood, and honestly gives Lakers that small edge to take the win.
Yeah, most definitely to go ahead and get themselves back on the board. Good answer. We're seeing now an attacking-sided map is what it's looking like. We just really got to see who goes ahead and breaks the pattern, finds themselves a defensive round, and quite honestly, it all comes down to whether GVSU can make the adaptation. We saw the aggression in round 1. We saw the instantaneous bomb plant in round 1, and it looks like Windsor's going to do the exact same thing.
Joke dancing in the command center. On the staircase, Conundrum again finds one in that overextension area. Bobby doubles down. Bobby finds a third. There's one last player going to be Purge on GVSU. Well aware that it's going to be quite the trek to get to that bomb. Conundrum still deep in the staircase. Looks like they're about to meet each other. A little awkward. And Purge is going to come out on top. 50 HP now. 1v2. You look at the last 2 players for University of Windsor. They are disconnected. As you see, player number 2 is making the full rotation through Church. Well, you see player number 4, Cure, just waiting for this pinch to come in. Purge might have found the right timing. Cure doesn't know he's behind him. First one's down, 1v1, but there's just no time to make it happen. Bomb's going to explode, and Windsor, again, another attacking round.
A very, very slow approach there once you get to that post round or that post plant setup, and it's a great way for old Windsor to get themselves a lead. I mean, I saw a much different kind of pace of game there. You don't want to go ahead and stick yourself to the bomb. But honestly, that was more of GVSU's fault. They didn't make a move. They had the players there. They had the backup, but they just didn't decide to execute off it. Instead, they wanted to respect their opponent a little bit too much, which is shocking to see after they fragged out in hardpoint. Honestly, you would think at this stage, their mental saying, we win in this fragging department. Let's make these trades. Let's get these rounds, and let's go ahead and get ourselves a bomb down as well, because they're following suit, taking notes out of Windsor's book.
Look at this adaptation. Conundrum flies through mid. Bob goes down, but the trades are better. Conundrum finds 2 in the middle of the map, opens things up for Windsor. Looking for a third. There it is. Looking for the ace, maybe. Purge up top in the windows. Last chance for the Lakers to find this round win. Messi's going to hop the defuse. They should know where he is. And here's the call. Conundrum flying for the trade. Looking for that ace in the round. Purge is going to find Bobby. Here's the gunfight. Playing for all 4. Oh, it's the defuse. Doesn't even give him the ace.
Yeah, that's a real shame there, but regardless, at the end of the day, it's still around. You still give yourself that advantage to be working off of. And honestly, I don't think the teammates are really going to be tripping out about that. They already found themselves in a pretty sticky scenario after that round 1, or at that map 1, excuse me. And they sat there and want to go ahead and get this win. They want to get it fast as well, because you can tell just the way they pace themselves, the way they find themselves on the site so quickly and get that bomb down immediately. I wouldn't blame them if we see that same exact thing here again, just to go ahead and get a free 4th possibly.
And honestly, Mick, you know, finding that first defensive win, I think, is even bigger for Windsor. They're going to go back to the basics here for that quick plant. Brooks, the adaptation, just delightful.
Finally.
Finds 2, a second one onto Cure. The answer back from Conundrum is going to get them that bomb back in the hand. And, ooh, if he's going to get this good timing. Here's the stun. Purge gets overwhelmed, but not before that stun lands onto Misty. Look at the mini-map. Look how far away these players are. Bomb in hand of Conundrum, a 1v1.
And he's already taken the high ground. I love every bit of this. He's going ahead, finding himself an angle where he can rotate to both sides of the map. Get yourself middle control. Eventually, that player's they're going to have to A, expose themselves to you, or B, find the right angle to go ahead and adjust. And there it is. Right coming from your left is going to be all Windsor to find themselves another round on the board.
I have to say, I'm impressed with Conundrum right now, single-handedly taking down the Lakers. Inside of the search and destroy, 9-3. That's going to be 3 rounds in a row. Back-to-back attacks and a defense just to split the odds. So Lakers now starting to fall behind inside the search and destroy. We got to look at them to shut down Conundrum because he is on a tear right now.
Oh, he most definitely is. I mean, he's a huge problem. Sitting at 9-3 right now. The rest of the team not really being too far behind. I mean, 4-3 and then 2 2-3s. I mean, you're not looking too shabby. you really got to just look at it for some of your players to step on the other side of the field. And right there, Joke, he had the opportunity to get a clutch. That 1-5 stat line isn't too impressive, but a round to go ahead and follow suit would have been great to be working with. But as we already see the glide bomb coming out from Conundrum, he's going to be following suit, getting those frags like he needed.
And Bobby Stockers for the follow-up. Misty's going to spot out Joke. And Joke actually going for the wraparound, but there's a little bit of help. He is going to give Conundrum the work. Shuts down that strike, but now Misty in a 1v1 versus Purge. And Purge with the high ground. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have watched Star Wars. We see what happens. He gives it up. Oh, and suddenly, the tables are even. Purge making the full wraparound. Bomb picked up. He is going to be going to the A site to get this bomb down. But Misty following it, gets eyes on, and ice is up for UWindsor Lancers.
Goodness gracious. What fast rounds here to go ahead and just follow up with that hard point. I mean, sure, that was a fast game overall, but I mean, this is an even faster approach to search and destroy. I don't think I've ever seen a team really be that aggressive to bomb sites. Seen rounds really go by this fast because it almost felt like I've blinked and we're already sitting at match point for the likes of UWindsor. And it's a great answer for them to go ahead, get themselves back on the board in such a fashionable manner. Sure, it wasn't a stomp by any means around that hard point, but even then, it looks almost like a stomp if they go ahead and win out this round, especially leading the charge to be a Conundrum, as you said. I mean, going ahead, fragging out, get themselves a glide bomb, and also just working around the map, getting so much intel because you're just forcing yourself into fights, as we see right here. Moving right back to A as a lot of trades go down.
Yep. Lakers come out on top with the numbers. Oh, and Infamous, nice shots on to cure Conundrum in a 1v3. Anybody wanting a 1v3, I'm sure it is this player right on screen. A minute to clutch up. Free kill on Infamous. That's a star check number 1. And making the wrap fully around. You look at the last two Lakers players holding hands to get this trade. Conundrum, bad timing. Still gets the snap. 1v1 now. And look at this. Conundrum nowhere close to Purge. Purge wants to keep his distance.
He most definitely does. He wants to wait for that region. He wants to play it slow and steady. Even then, you saw the brain just come into full function right there. Go ahead, get yourself a pick, move out. That bomb's not down yet. You're not really too worried about it. You just want to find yourself going ahead because they're going to be protecting that. They know that it's around the map. They know it's towards that A site. They know you push that every single time. And Conundrum reads that as well, saying he's probably going to go right back to where he's supposed to make at home. You can see his little booty sticking out because the man's a stick, but he's also 6 feet under for Windsor to get themselves a second map. Or excuse me, the second map of the series, and they're first to get onto the board.
The Lancers make it happen. A faulty map number 1, but a heavy map 2 to answer back. Conundrum 13-4. The unkillable Lancer, you might say. 7 streak in the game, 5 first blood. That says it all. Doing work for the team to pull this one back. You needed the search and destroys. You needed an answer back into that, Nick. And I mean, it was just handed to them.
Yeah, that's really what it looked like. Handed would be the right way to go ahead and really put it down. I mean, it all came down to that one player, and I'm not going to mention their name because we all know who we're talking about. I mean, you just go ahead and look at the frags onto the field. You go ahead and get yourself a clutch to be working with as well. I mean, as you said, that one player, if you want to go ahead and put it in somebody's hands, it's right there. And honestly, just being handed, go ahead, close out that game, close out that map, and find yourself going right back to hard point. You need to have a mental reset now, though, to say, look, we really don't have too much to work with. And we sat there, didn't win the hard point really all that well. We really got to turn things around, but we can show we can kill, at least so long as a Conundrum at the lead.
Well, I think the big thing is that St. Clair shut down a lot of bold plays that Lakers were going for, especially on the Lakers defense. I mean, a lot of time you saw them looking for the overextension, and who was there? It was Conundrum, and a piece, maybe 1, maybe 2 at a time. And it was really shutting down a lot of these set strats that you saw GVSU come out with. And you look at the stats for Windsor. I want to highlight Misty as well, clutching up in a big 1v1 to put them on a 5th round, as well as Bobby Soxer's 5-5. You know, Kier might have been 2-5, a little bit of a misstep for him, but I think that overall, you're looking at Windsor's fundamentals in the search and destroy, and the way that they played together is a huge step up from that Gavatu map 1.
Yeah, I mean, the way they just went ahead and followed up, and especially when you look at the answers, we just didn't see enough adjustments. You saw a lot of aggression out of Windsor. We didn't see too much of an answer or adaptability out of the likes of GVSU, and that's a big problem. We saw an A-hit every single time, and back-to-back-to-back, it was super fast. You should have gotten an automaton up there. You should have gotten an MP40 right there around that fountain. You should have found something. Go ahead, even just throw a frag in there just to get that intel. Find a stun, a flash, whatever you need. Just give yourself that intel to work with, just to let your mind get that peace of mind to know that, okay, they're there. I mean, go ahead. All our B players who are setting up for a default over yonder, grab yourself a little rotation, come around the back of the map, and go ahead and pinch them out. Instead, we just saw nothing but front force coming in, time out, and Conundrum was there to answer.
Well, Mick, we've seen the best of both teams now inside the series as we're sitting tied 1 apiece heading into our third map hard point. We're going to head to a quick little break here, folks. You're watching CCL 2022 season. My name is Seymour. Alongside me, Mick. We'll see you after this break. Folks, welcome back from the short break to your CCL 2022 Bravo stream. We're here with the last match of the day, University of Windsor against the Grand Valley State University Lakers. We're sitting 1 apiece. Let's take a look at our maps, Mick, because we are heading into another hard point. And you look at what we saw into the past between these two. GVSU, a one-sided affair, 250 to 113 inside that respawn. And Windsor, they decided to answer back with a 6-1 on search in the same exact fashion. But now that we're heading into the respawns, Mick, are you worried?
It depends on who you're asking, who I'm worried for. I mean, if I'm worried for Windsor, yeah, a little bit, quite honestly. When we're talking about GVSU and how they went ahead and opened up that hard point and how well they looked, how well they just put themselves across the map, and how well they just held down each side, quite honestly, they were looking outstanding against the likes of Windsor. Windsor showing that they can actually slay out so long as you got that main man there in the front. But honestly, you can't have a one-man carry when it comes around to hardpoint. You can't have that one person on the side or roaming around the side because there's always going to be a crack to slip through. There's always going to be space to manipulate. There's always going to be a lot more variables there on the field. So hardpoint going to be a little bit of a hard little, I would say, hill or a hurdle, albeit, for the likes of all Windsor right now. But I don't think it's anything that they can't really accomplish. I think it's definitely within reaching distance and just got to go ahead and work a little harder for it.
Well, this brings us up to the keys of victory we have for Grand Valley State University. The fact that they have to double down on their hard points. You know, you're into the next one. You did a fantastic job in that map number 1. If you can repeat that here, I mean, it's just another step on your road to victory inside this series. However, for University of Windsor, I think getting comfortable in a respawn is going to speak wonders for the squad. They were able to take St. Clair down inside a hardpoint. I mean, they have what it takes to do so. So, I mean, hardpoint should be relatively not foreign for this squad, Mick. And if there's anybody to point out on University of Windsor to kind of pick up the pace for the squad, who are you looking at?
Quite honestly, I'm looking at everybody. I'm going to be just real with you. I mean, sure, we saw some great frags last time around. We saw a lead in terms of kills, but we just need that from everybody this time around because this is a very SMG-heavy map. You're going to see a lot of aggression until you get around to those points that are just towards the outside, and that's not going to be the best stage. I mean, that's right there around that P5 and that P2, which are located on the outside. You're going to have those ARs being able to pick up the match, being able to pick up the frags, and then go ahead and make themselves that much more of an impact. So you can't really have too much of an influence on your SMG players this time around. Otherwise, like I said, that crack you can slip through, you're pouring water on it, and you're making it that much bigger at that point.
Yes, you are. As we fly through on hardpoint, we're getting the lobby back together, everybody. And as soon as we do, these players will be flying through the map. So as soon as we get in there, we will get back to our regular coverage of both of these teams. So talk to me a little bit about Bocage, Mick, because, I mean, Corin and I, we were talking about it earlier and how scrappy this can be, how fast this can be. But, I mean, for the Lakers, we've seen the best of them. Do you think that the fact that this is a little bit more scrappier, will it shake things up between both of these teams?
I think scrappy would be a pretty good term to go ahead and, really dish out that because, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, you see so much diversity for these sites. It's not like GVSU where an assault rifle can always be relevant. There's going to be certain sites where they become relevant, and that's going to be site 5 and 2. But 4, 1, and 3, you're going to have to go ahead and learn to adapt. You're going to have to find yourself into those windows. You're going to have to find yourself across the map, still making yourself relevant without getting in the face of your opponent and really just throwing away your life.
So here we are. Map number 3, the swing mode right now between both of these squads. Who will take their advantage back? Conundrum going to find the break, doubling down onto Joke and Brooks. An opening now for Windsor to start pouring through the map. This is a 5 down in a row now for them to flip this map on a dime as Lakers are going to be spawning back into that Grandma's spawn. Good time right now for the Lancers. Misty going to be overwhelmed. Brooks going to find a quick trade from Conundrum, but 19 seconds left. You need to be looking at the rotations, and Purge looks like he's on route.
He most definitely is. He's just going to play it very slow, very methodical, and know what picks to take first. And he already knows where one of those players are. He makes the call, says, you know what, I'm not going to take that myself. There's probably getting another guy around. He makes that call correctly and then has an entire half of the map open for himself. He's just got to watch out for those spawns, knowing where your teammates are at, knowing where the enemies are coming from. You just got to make sure to have those setups there, and it looks like GVSU's ready for it. Thing is, they don't have too much time there on the clock. They're having themselves a lot of contention, but they're able to hold it down a little bit more long.
A lot better of a start out of the Lancers rather than the, what was, 70-3 beginning of GVSU. And right away, 21. They are going to get back into the lead. Purge inside the barn. He's going to find one now, looking to run around the outside. Finds a second onto Misty. It opens up this flank now for Purge to take advantage. Conundrum is going to be ready. No, it's 4 down now for the Lancers. Bobby Sox is the last one on the inside, and the break's going to come through. Lakers now flipping time in their favor.
Yeah, and that's a big problem when you look at Conundrum being the top slayer for the likes of Windsor and the, Purge being the top slayer for the likes of GVSU. We saw Purge being a lot more relevant when it comes to being around that Slayer in Hardpoint. Able to make the actual impact on the map, making it worthwhile for the rest of his team, making those stats relevant in this timeline instead of just being kills on the board to where you can go ahead and flaunt that you're not negative. So, I mean, even then, we see Windsor able to at least step it up, the rest of the team on that side, able to go ahead and get some more time, give themselves a much larger lead now, but we're still in the early stage of the game and nothing's out of their grasp.
Missy 9-5. Quite the hard point right now. Great start as well from a player that you'd like to see pick things up from team. Having trouble getting behind the door. Finally going to slip in to the crack. Breaks shortly for Purge for the Kadeshin. Quick trade, though, for Misty once more. 31 seconds to fight for. Here's the break. Brooks leading the charge. Can't find the trade just yet. Infamous. Nice snap from Misty. Lines them both up. 23 seconds now to pick up. Misty has full streaks on 9 in a row, Mick. And this is one way to bring your team back into a hard point.
Most definitely is. You cleared up all that space in the map. You give your team a chance to breathe, but where are they breathing? Are they breathing on the side, or are they breathing around the map? Or are they all sitting there cracking jokes with each other? Well, it all comes down to them and their discretion and whether or not they want to make the most of this time. And they didn't find any time off that that's really worthwhile. They're still sitting at 27, but they're here on the next point. They're set up for it. They're already sitting on P4. They're ready for the rotation. And even then, you see the slays coming out from Brooks. So a great slaying potential there, but you've got to have a little bit more because everybody's just kind of funneling in one at a time with their hands crossed. They're dotting their T's, crossing their I's, whatever it is. It's a little bit more backwards than what you expect.
Backwards, definitely. Before the Lancers, this is what you needed for them. If you're a Windsor fan, Bobby Stockton is going to find 2. Make it 3 on the inside. Now, Conundrum going to find a 4th. That's the break. That should be momentarily answered back. Finn Brooks is form. 28 HP, looking to finesse their life. Hops up, finds Misty. Bobby Soxer's back in for the connection, but not for long still. Barn remaining split between both of these teams, because we're heading into round number 5.
Yeah, and even then, we already see the scrap time still going to the side of GVSU. So they're making this game a little bit more easy, a little bit more within their grasp. But, I mean, that's the biggest part. They got to make sure to set up for this. Because I want to say that P4, this is going to, or P5, excuse me, it's going to be a lot of a money hill. I mean, you find yourself such on the outside of the map. You're really just away from everybody. You're extremely isolated. And even then, Windsor making the most of this. But the problem is, you see the extension from Brooks getting a little bit too far from the site, not really contributing too much to the rest of this team. But they may not even need it, because you can already see everybody there. You can see the contestant come in, the real frag around coming back into town, and just some great time, some great kills. Go ahead and reset this out.
Yeah, now Lakers on the back rope. Looking to climb here in Bocage. Joke's going to watch that swamp route on the back end. Bobby in behind, moves himself away. Nice shots onto Purge around the corner. Look for the high ground, but no. Infamous snaps, rocks him down. Can't find a third, but over all this time, it's been Lakers slowly climbing back inside Bocage, and we're heading into the second set of rotations. Windsor, marginal lead, but a lot more of an improvement than we saw in map number 1.
Most definitely is. I mean, we're seeing a little bit more contention. We're seeing an actual fire. We're seeing some fire now, and I'm really liking to see it. I mean, Windsor stepping it up, able to get themselves to the plate. They're swinging, they're hitting, and it's looking like they're finding themselves a home run, because if they can keep GVSU in this 100-point threshold, they're going to have an even better map whenever it comes around to hard point the second time around than they did whenever GVSU beat them in the first. It all just comes down to whether or not they can continue this momentum, and it's not too big of a lead for them to be worried about, because it's only 60 points right now. GVSU isn't really too stressed. They just got to find a way to turn this around. They got to go ahead, keep the eyes of where they're playing on the map, make sure to play together, because even then, that frag right there, super isolated. Regardless of how close you are, you're still overextending, and there's a wall between you and your teammates.
Pretty hard with Bobby's 23 and 15 piecing you together, like you said, uncontested. Conundrum now pushing the line in behind. Actually finds absolutely nobody. Finally turns and, oh, snaps on the purge. This break back into the hill. Rotations are solid right now for Windsor, and Conundrum flying, starting to find his form here into the hard point to duo up with Bobby Soxers. Up top into this barn. Looking to play cutoff for these players rotating in. Up top finds one. Looking for the second. Not going to be there just yet. Conundrum playing coy at the moment, but soon to follow up with the squad in the break. 3 down again for Lakers. Infamous last one up, and Windsor doing a great job at slaying out inside this map number 3.
Most definitely. They've grinded themselves a lot of kills here recently. Problem is, I mean, look at the one who's on the site, though. It's going to be old Lakers ready to prowl, ready to get some more time onto the board, and that's exactly what they need. They're just slipping right under the radar. They're finding themselves at least a player or two to go ahead and not get fragged out, just playing their lives and still making their time relevant. You have a lot of teams right now, a lot of players who are just looking to go ahead and fill out the game, say, look, I'm just going to roam out, keep my life alive, play for spawns. Well, if there's a site wide open, you might as well go ahead and take it. Let somebody else worry about that problem, because you need to go ahead and get yourself back into this game, now making it a 50-point differential, a lot more doable than what we saw earlier.
In the back line, Cure's going to fall. Brooks, an opening to set up a pincer. Conundrum on the inside is going to find 2. That's where Misty went big with 9 in a row, but this time Brooks gets the better of the 2. He's going to break back in for the Lakers at the moment. Lancers spawning up over towards the barn. Bobby in for the possession. Slides across even for the double bunny hop, but no, Brooks and Infamous work together to keep themselves on this point. From upstairs, Misty gets a headshot from Brooks. That's going to still keep this time flowing. And for this Lakers squad, Conundrum and Kier finally going to break on in. Brooks is going to fall in from this last one standing, doing a fantastic job at keeping Windsor away. And he's going to hop in here just for a little bit more time under their belt, Nick.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, making it a 30-point game now, sitting the rest of this crap time to get on their side of the field. But, I mean, that's the big problem. They got to go ahead and find the rotations as well, because, sure, they can grab the scrap time, but it's called scrap time for a reason. It's not going to win you a game to go ahead and pick up scraps just all day long. So you got to make sure to go ahead and get yourself the lead on another side, get the follow through, and you can already see the capture coming up here on the team and on the HUD for everybody to see, just going ahead and flooding in. And Windsor are able to go ahead and grab a lot of the frags there, making themselves look really good so far, making themselves getting right back into that lead threshold, but it's only 30 points now. So GVSU, they just got to step up. They got to go ahead and surround this, find a breach, but when you got Missy on the outside, looking to just pick off players left and right, that's a big problem to worry about.
There you go, Missy finds 1. Brooks is going to fall. Conundrum quick for the trade. Again, you look at where Lakers are spawning, all the way down into the P5 area. Infamous has made the wrap around. Hopped in for the Kadashi Cure. Throwing down some shots just to chip them up. Joke in for the break. Lakers following in suit. The collapse is there. Infamous is going to find Conundrum, and a successful break for the Lakers for this remaining scrap time. Still 1 player lacking around. It's Misty, and Purge is going to catch their number.
Most definitely is. It all just comes down to whether you can follow through with it, because we already see Purge getting knocked down by Bobby there. But Cure, they're on the outside of the map. The one we're watching, the one who's watching the point as well, that's going to be your biggest factor now. That's going to be your X factor for the likes of Windsor. You want to make sure that he holds that down, has the intel for the rest of his team to pass on, and that you can lock down GVSU indoors. And that glide bomb's going to do just that, making sure to keep them off the point. Give yourself a little bit more time to buy, but you still got 40 seconds, and you can almost get yourself within winning threshold. You just can't close out the game just yet.
And Mick, you look at Conundrum, you look at Missy, both with full streaks, and how wide open this point is. Conundrum is going to be traded out, but with this break from GVSU, if Windsor, they could just decide to use some more streaks just to flood back into this hill. And Missy falls. Conundrum, curious if they're going to use streaks. No, trying to flood back into this hill. Bobby Sox is utilizing that smoke to soak up a little bit more time, but heading into the 3rd set of rotations, University of Windsor up 208 to 175 and counting. A marginal lead, but a big, pretty much the same lead we saw after Hill 2.
Yeah, even then, the rotation for this is a lot shorter, so you also had to allocate your players correctly to make sure to be ready for that next site. Get a lot of players there in that P4 window, in that P4 building. Make sure the rotations are ready. You can grab the beginning time of this next site. We can already see Windsor holding that down. GVSU getting themselves onto the site and getting a lot of time here and getting the right trades to make this game relevant. It all comes down to whether or not everybody's going to contribute. You got Percy on the outside, not really just doing too much, just giving a lot of intel off so you can get around to it. But in the meantime, you got Purge slaying out an Infamous on side as well, soaking up some time.
And look at that, Mick. A lead change for the Lakers. They're starting to piece things together one by one, and the puzzle is coming together. Purge watching the flank. Overextension is going to be there. Oh, Misty, let him know, Purge. 3 in a row once more as GVSU are climbing closer and closer to the finish line here. Map number 3 is things starting to get out of hands for the Lancers. Bobby Sox is finally going to split that odds. We're heading to Hill 2, and who's going to be the first? It's going to be GVSU.
This is going to be the first point where GVSU also has themselves a really good standing because they can close out the game fairly easily here. It just comes down to these last frags, whether or not they can make them that much impactful and also have a player on the side as well. And it all comes down to those objective kills. It's right there on the outside. It's there towards the edge. You got to have the right lineup. So you already see Purge standing up on top of a window, ready to go ahead and get these frags. It just comes down to whether or not his teammates want to follow. But we don't see too much influence there just yet. This side has not been touched until GVSU finally gets a little bit of a snip out of it, but not enough to wallow around.
Misty invests the glide bomb. Backs up onto Purge. Still GVSU soaking this up. Only 4 seconds needed. Lakers finally getting their feet on in. As Bobby Sox is looking to hold it up, looks like another streak is going to be falling from the sky. Purge this time, investing the glide bomb, hops on in. It is going to find Bobby Soxers. That might be the break. Still, only 4 seconds needed. Infamous around the back, he's going to find the first. Purge finds 2. Cure still alive here. And this is very much doable for the rest of the Lakers. Bobby comes out with a big one. This fight is going to be everything as you just need to find a couple more seconds. And we are heading through there. No GVSU. 1 second left in the hill, and they're going to find the map.
What a massive turnaround for the likes of GVSU. We saw them being very lackluster for the majority of this map. I want to say if darn not all of it, just picking up a lot of scraps, then sure, like I said earlier, scraps don't win you the game, but they do get you darn close if you're looking for a lead or looking to get yourself that closer to a tie. And it all comes down to that last site. We saw it go ahead, become that P2, and it just all came down to those trades, whether or not you get your influence there, and that's what it was. GVSU just slaying down the edges, having that one player stay on site as long as possible, and just being that little slithery snake, just kind of slipping through the grass. You really don't see too much of them, but it's just enough when you're right there towards the end to get yourself a dub.
That is a huge slip up. If you're looking over at the Lancers, I mean, they had about a 60-point lead, Mick, the whole time through. And so that last third rotation, and why is that? Is just because GVSU, they got back into form. They started piecing together some kill streaks. They started feeding themselves streaks, and then that snowball momentum that we saw towards the end of the game when Purge got full streaks and his teammate got streaks as well. Just nobody could get back onto their feet. For the Lancers, they got swept out from below and this couldn't recover. Now you're looking at these stats, and I want to highlight first Lakers, because that comeback was impeccable. And who was it behind? It was behind Purge, 37-29, alongside Infamous, 39-27. The two of them, even Brooks, 34-30, getting trade and just streaks after streaks. And you saw that little stint at the end there where Purge went on 12 in a row. Well, just a pillar on why this team brought it back.
Yeah, I mean, just the trades that were coming out there, which there really weren't too many of them. As you see, all those non-traded kills, that's a big problem for the likes of UWindsor. They got to go ahead and fix that up in this next map because, I mean, looking at how GVSU, they're looking at a match point, and also they're going right back to hard point. That's a big problem to see that they go ahead and they can play with your emotions. I mean, I'm sure Windsor that whole entire time, they're saying, let's go, boys. It's looking doable. We're in the lead. We're in the lead. That's a problem. How much are you in the lead? Is it going ahead? Is the lead getting bigger or is it getting smaller? Because next thing you know, you have a lead and it's gone.
It's gone.
You can't let that happen.
It's what happened, Mick. It's what happened. And you know you can't let it happen, but it did happen. And on a map that you would have loved to take away because you needed a hard point.
Yep.
If you were the Windsor, you lost out on that Gavitsu. Bokash was looking so different. It was looking so good for you to take your lead and have an option for that map 5. But now that you lose it, now that you get swept, there's the momentum gone from everything you gained there. And now you have to win a hard point to get to that last map, that map number 5, where you've looked stellar inside of the Search and Destroys. I want to take a look at these maps, though, because we can see exactly where we are going back to, or where we are going to for our map number 4. And as we bring this one up, we look at the history. Well, we look at the future. Tuscan coming up next. Talk to me a little bit about where we're in, what we're in for.
Honestly, I'm just looking to see whether or not this is a Windsor kind of comfort pick, or whether they just know the map a little bit better, or whether or not it's just that Search and Destroy where they really start to step up. Because, I mean, as it looked in that last map, hardpoint overall, that entire game, I mean, I don't know about you, it just almost felt like a team deathmatch. Like, it didn't even feel like everybody forgot about the site. They just didn't care. They were just going for frags as much as possible. Nobody was really putting too much emphasis on spawns or whether or not actually getting hill time. It was just, yo, let's just have some fun. Let's see how much blood we can shed. You got to have a bigger picture. You got to have a bigger goal in mind. We're not doing that here. This isn't Halo. This is Call of Duty. We don't have a Slayer kind of objective game mode where it's the first however many kills. It comes down to objective time, having a bigger picture, having a bigger goal in mind, and making sure to put the objective on the rear end and make sure to tug it along with you. Because next thing you know, you got to bring that to victory if you're really going to get yourself a series.
And Mick, this series is so important for Windsor to bounce back. They already lost one today, and you're in a tough division. I mean, you have that Michigan Esports team that just swept their rival in Michigan State Con inside this division, alongside the St. Clair Saints, alongside Northwood Esports, and GVSU making moves right now on stream to prove themselves a contender inside the Northeast A division. You're looking at Tuscan up next to either finish this series. If you're a Lakers fan, or if you're Lancers, you're looking to push this to a map number 5, search and destroy exactly where you want to go, but you have to overcome that hurdle of a hard point. You've been struggling game in, game out. Bokash seemed like the answer, but you let it drop now. This is a must-win for the University of Windsor if you want to have success on day 2 of the CCL. It's a must-win game right now.
And I think it all comes down to those SMGs once again. I think that's just a big reliance on this map. I mean, we don't see as much diversity when it comes around to the likes of Bokash. You don't see those 2 outside points that are just wide open. You see a lot of contention. Even then, if you want to get to a site, you don't have to take the wide open route. You don't have to go out there into a field. The only place you have to do that is P1. And honestly, you could still come through the middle of the map and find yourself a couple of frags to just clear out that site. It all comes down to whether or not you can get down and dirty, whether you can get the job done, and whether you can stay on a site without just going ahead and getting a little over antsy and finding yourself leaving it every second.
Hopping on with Bobby, the man of the hour from Bokash to lead the way. Is it an excellent opening right now? Purge has slipped the line to behind. Misty caught off guard. Purge hasn't got in for the connection. Snaps around with help of Brooks. It's 3, make it 4 down. Purge opens this wide.
Yeah, open it wide open, and definitely. I mean, not only the map, but the site, more importantly, giving themselves a lot of breathing space, giving themselves some time as well, because now sitting at 20, you just got to hold this site for about 10 seconds. You can say, all right, I'm good. We got what we needed. Let's go ahead and go next. Let's find ourselves the next site, get the rotations for it, get the setups. But instead, you have that luxury just robbed away from you because Windsor's already right back on the prowl, able to go ahead and pick up the rest of the scrap time after grabbing a pretty good amount right there in the front end. And you just go ahead and start looking at this next one because we don't see too much of a setup besides the likes of Bobby Soxers, who's able to go ahead and get a couple comfortable frags.
Bobby gets caught from behind. It's Purge again. Over the top ropes. He's going to hop in for some time. Here comes the break from Windsor. Conundrum, Kira, they find 3. That's the opening they need to get back into this hill and start gaining the time. But Joke again comes out big with a one-on-one, denying Windsor of this time inside the hill too. Bobby watching the cutoff, but Purge once again shuts him down on the inside. It's all GVSU right now, and they're closing this lead that Windsor got early. Still early into Tuscan, but this is his time that Windsor really won, especially in the spawns that they're spawning in.
Yeah, you can even look at Windsor right now, giving respect to their opponent. Not really pushing onto the site, playing things slow and steady, waiting for a collective push. And you got to come down to those trades. Joke, right there, for example. You got to be in that teammate, buddy. You got to go ahead and make sure to get that trade. Get yourself a tiny bit more time, and then whenever you do die out, you're like, all right, whatever. It's 10 seconds. We go ahead, we get the rotation onto the field, we get ready for next, and we go ahead and find ourselves that front time. But instead, they're picking up scraps. So you got Infamous there towards the back with a really good setup saying, look, I'm going to go ahead, get the frags wherever I can. By this time, I just got to shut down Conundrum, who I've already seen, but with the rest of the team following through, I can't really hold out too much.
A good setup right now for the Lancers. Conundrum on the exit, 9 HP. We can call for some help. Joke still finds Misty back in for the time. Conundrum soaking things up right now, second by second. And beyond the fountain, Lakers setting up for the push. Sun's going to land. Conundrum still getting the better of Infamous. You're looking at Purge on screen for the flank. Opening things up now for the pinch with Joke. It's good. It is seamless, and it is going to be the Lakers back in for time.
It most definitely is. They're just going ahead, grabbing themselves some more 10 seconds. And as we said earlier, this was a big problem we saw in the last map for Windsor. You just see GVSU making themselves relevant. They don't care if they don't have the lead too much. They can make that compensation there towards the end. And it's a big gamble to make, but heck, it worked for them in the last map. so long as you just got to choke them out, you're going to get like a 100-point lead to really just lock them down. And we haven't seen that yet. It's been nothing but like 60s, 50s, at max 70. And that's still completely doable off a site and a half, especially when you go ahead and give them a lot of scraps.
3 down again for Windsor. Purge leading the break. As that's an early one now into Church. You still see Windsor spawning up in the back end. Missy finds the wraparound. Is going to trade things even for the team, but Conundrum, not a kill you want to take to the grave with you. The team kill is going to thwart Windsor of getting back in for this time. And a 10-second lead. The Lakers are looking to cut down fast. Misty on the flank. On screen, not checking the corner. Purge again. Look at the break on the inside. Is solid so far for the Lancers. Kieran a big one-on-one, but not ready for Purge to be there. Again, Mick, just Lakers coming out with the scrap time.
Most definitely are, and even then, you see that sometimes the scraps can even get you into the lead. It just comes down to how relevant you keep yourself in the rest of the match. And those 9 seconds will give you that lead. No matter how small it may be, if GVSU keeps the scraps, they can keep that lead so long as they just fight there in the front end. And they go ahead, they lose out a little bit there towards that P4, but it's not going to be that big a deal for them. So long as they can just find the time, find a little bit more fights, get themselves collected together, and go ahead and get one big breach, that's going to be massive for them. It all comes down to whether Bobby can stop him, and he does find a trade, but is it going to be enough for the rest of the team that's coming on the outside?
And Bobby's been stand out ever since that Bocage, ever since that map number 2. 15-9 here. Inside Tuscan, Conundrum trying to recover, but not going to be the case. On the front line, Bobby, 1 and 2. In comes Infamous, and down he goes. As Windsor starting to collect time here. Brooks setting up from below. Right through the door, might have found the timing on. In, Missy gets worked, the pinch from Purge, and that is the opening the Lakers need to get back into things. Bobby sliding across for the bunny hop, not going to be able to uproot these players on the inside again. Scrap time being fought here. A big one-on-one, and Conundrum comes out on top.
Yeah, coming out on top is definitely what you need to do here. You got to do it time in and time out, because right now it's not enough. You're not on top. You're not dominating. You're instead just kind of lingering there. And that's a problem when you see GVSU still making themselves relevant once again, just getting themselves to that 100-point threshold. You haven't locked them down by any means, and it's only a 17-point game. So we got to see GVSU either kick it into high gear, turn things around, and leave old Windsor on the back burner, or otherwise, we're going to see Windsor really just go ahead and run away with this, because they just got to repeat this right back to that point where they say, all right, it's 0-0. Let's just go out of as aggressive as we started.
Flurry of kills right now for the Lancers. As Bobby Soxers now stepping up to the plate. Excellent chip damage from the nade. Missy finds Joke. Second one onto Brooks. Look at this call right now for Bobby to just start flying at this Church. Slips in the line. Has Conundrum backing them up. Windsor getting some good momentum here off this first hill. This is exactly what they needed to get their feet steady inside Tuscan.
Oh, they just got to go ahead and create some breathing space, though. They got to make themselves comfortable in this map. And I just haven't really seen any of these teams get settled in. Instead, I'm just seeing a lot of contention, just a lot of running in, a lot of funneling in. And sure, we see each team being pretty even, I want to say, in terms of slaying power. But that's a big problem when you see both teams just kind of alternating that back and forth, saying, all right, I'm a run in. All right, now GVSU says, I'm a run in. Now Windsor's doing the same thing. It's like they're taking notes of each other's book. But, I mean, funny enough, they have the same book to take notes from. They just got to look at their own. They got to go look how they can adjust and see how they can go ahead and turn themselves out on top. And right now, this may be the top that we need. We see Windsor getting themselves a 70-point lead, and this is the biggest we've seen so far in terms of hardpoint, and besides that map 1.
And Misty getting these shrieks as well, going to be a big pillar for the snowball effect that you're hoping for to close this out and round out to a map number 5. Stun's going to catch Conundrum. Still gets the better of Joke. And the back is Infamous. Lines them up for one at least. Cure and Bobby here to pick up where his teammate left off. And that is an excellent rotation into this Fountain Hill.
Most definitely is. It's just a little bit of time here and there. It's a great slay out there for Windsor, but it's also on the time when you have a spawn rotation. You don't really have too much of time. You have yourself the point going from one side to the other. So sure, you just sit there and wipe the entire team, but did you get spawns off of it? Nope, because GVSU's right there already back on the site, give themselves a lot of time to work with. The rotations are now coming through. The spawns really haven't been established too much, and both these squads are really just fighting it out for the site instead of worrying about the bigger picture.
Yeah, but Mick, we've seen a lot more fundamental in hardpoint out of this Windsor team on Toscan. You can tell that this is where they wanted to go to. Sounds like a glide bomb's gonna be dropped. Joke looking for the opening. Bobby's gonna be on the receiving end of that. Now here comes the flood. Conundrum able to find one. Looks like he's ready for Joke, but Joke taking a long way around for the remainder time. Conundrum ready for the fight, but what a shot at a Joke. There's still some players from Windsor to get back onto this hill for the scrap time. And even look at this on the rotation. Cure leading the charge.
There you go. Moving as a pack, moving as a unit. Just force yourself through the map as a squad. Show that you have some kind of synergy there on the field. And even then, right here on Tuscan, they showed it earlier there on that Search and Destroy. They showed that they make themselves at home here as much as possible because, I mean, as we saw earlier, GVSU making themselves relevant time in, time out, time in, time out. Well, now this is a money hill in their hands. They haven't had any setup towards the back, and that's a big problem because you can already see Bobby making plays, not enough to really get themselves on the site, but it's going to be enough to go ahead and create that pressure, make sure that opponents are really pushing up on you if you're GVSU, and that the pressure of the game is still there. Sure, you grab a lot of time, but is it enough when you have them going ahead and making the lap around?
Purge keeping his team ahead above water right now. Trying to dance around the tail for the Ranger 17. Misty and Kier break back. And now it's a race. Conundrum's going to be here first. Are they going to be ready? On the staircase. Yeah, Brooks. Heads up. Taking him down. And now it's going to be Lakers looking to convert this time. Convert this early seconds into time their way. 234 to 154 heading into the fifth hill.
Yeah, this could be closed out right here. I'm being quite honest. I mean, you see so many GVSU players waiting for a final push, but it's got to come eventually. You got to get desperate at some point. You got to get the contention. Even if you're not getting time, you got to get something there. You got to stop the other side. And right there, this is what it takes. A break like this. You got the rest of the team coming through. You got to get yourself on that side. But instead, we see Brooks dropping out, just deciding to go ahead and keep that survivability up. But you got to go ahead. They are closing this game quicker than expected. Windsor is only 6 off now.
Purge trying to contest for the life. Teammates aren't showing up. Purge has to do it single-handedly. This first one. Conundrum around the corner. A little bit of reinforcements in here. Another straight going to be called. Purge for the break. They stay alive for now. As now watching for the rest of these players from Windsor to come in. You know there's a win condition. And look at this setup. They are moving to Hill 1. They want to end this in the third rotation.
They most definitely do. I mean, just look at them right now. Look at that mini-map. Every single Windsor player saying, you know what? Forget it. They got to play picture-perfect Call of Duty right now to get themselves back into this game. We only need 3 seconds, but they're already here on the rotation. A great answer out of GVSU, but we now see a glide bomb coming down as well. I don't know how long this is going to help with everybody in the respawn times, but it may be enough.
It was interesting. It was creative, and even some might say bold. But it wasn't enough to keep Windsor away from it. Misty finds 2 to scrounge out that game, and it's going to be the Lancers pushing a game 5, Mick. We are going to a search and destroy. We are going to the distance. You asked for it. Windsor delivered.
They most definitely did, man. And honestly, I couldn't expect anything less. We saw Windsor. They had a little bit of a cold start, I want to say, when it came around to hard point. I mean, we've seen that differential get smaller and smaller and smaller on every single map that we've played. And that's a big problem for the likes of old GVSU. Seeing that you're bread and butter there towards the beginning of the series, saying, all right, we're starting off the season strong. We got ourselves a really good game on our hands, and we really just stomped these guys out. But then you quickly wake up to say, all right, that wasn't the same team we were facing earlier. What's going on? Well, it's also because, and part of you, what you're doing on the field, what your little jokes and your little, shenanigans you were playing out earlier aren't really cutting it this time around. And you're going right back to S&D, which is a big problem looking at how this old Windsor team's all slayed out.
I want to highlight Windsor right now and what they brought to the field. I think every single game I'm seeing players like Misty and Cure find their rhythm inside hard points, and we know what to expect out of Bobby and Conundrum. 29 and 24 out of Bobby, 17 non-traded kills. Conundrum 37 and 29. At one point, he was even, dead even, inside that KD. But 24 non-traded kills, started to pick things up in the second half. It started to really blow things out of proportion for them. You look beyond that. You look at average damage per hill time. Conundrum, 409 average damage per hill. That is absurd. That is even disgusting. And over on the other hand, I mean, you got Purge. Purge was doing quite a good job. 36 and 25, 396 damage per hill time, putting up the numbers for the team, but lackluster from the supporting cast. Joke, 17 and 27. One of those players that stepped up to the plate constantly inside the hard points, alongside Infamous as well. Another uncharacteristic game. 17 and 31 for himself. Just two kind of off games for the Slayers of GVSU and Windsor. They make a shine. They take game number 4, and now they're heading to another search and destroy make. And that makes this interesting too, because you look back at the search and destroy we had prior to this. Windsor, they dominated 6-1.
Yeah, that's it's kind of a problem. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, looking at the way that GVSU really answered on that search and destroy, it was not enough. I don't know if it was, comfort picks when it comes around to the maps, because we have seen the likes of old Windsor win out Tuscan both times. But, I mean, the biggest problem is search and destroy. Are we going to see the same kind of pace of game? Are we going to see a really hard aggression towards the site and just settle down? I don't know, because when we're going to Berlin, that's a completely different pace of game. You're going to see some assault rifles really starting to stand out, which I feel like we really haven't seen too much of it all out of both these teams. I mean, it's been just these SMG players having the spotlight the entire night. We need some assault rifle plays. We need some, you know what? Kind of thinking, I know what we need. Snipers! That would also be a really good introduction for this map that could really throw a curveball in both teams' way.
Well, folks, we're heading into this map number 5. I want you to all in the chat, maybe even on socials, on Twitter, rally behind your school. You got the Windsor, you got University of Windsor, you got GVSU. Head to the socials, hashtag CCL 2020. Back your team, show some school spirit, and let them know you want to see them pull out that Game 5 victory. Let's take a look at our maps. Let's take a look at exactly where we're headed to. In this map number 5, Mick, you asked for a sniper. Well, we're headed to Berlin. And if there's one thing that I'm used to seeing on Berlin, it is that boomstick, heavily most often at that B site. You don't want it at A, over the offices, very close quarters, but at B, towards the docks, that sniper can be lethal.
Yeah, I most definitely can. I mean, I feel like this has been the one map where snipers can actually be relevant. I mean, you have yourself with such a massive lineup towards that B side over there on docks, and right off the get-go. You go ahead, run out, take yourself a quick little sharp right if you're on that defense, and go ahead and line yourself up. If you're on offense, you're not really going to go too far. You can go ahead and just line yourself up off spawn, but you're not going to be really too worried about that. Instead, you're just going to go ahead, find yourself comfortable in the back, give yourself and that team that intelligence to be working with as you make your push onto a side.
And here we go, the lovely Berlin, as we fly through this map. One last map, Mick. You asked for a game number 5. Here it is. I mean, you predicted it's going to go the distance. Well, map 5 just for you. As folks wondering, just tuning in maybe for the first time here in CCL's Bravo stream, first time in Call of Duty, as maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a friend, not really used to Call of Duty. You look down at the bottom lower third and search and destroy, alternate attacking and defending bomb sites in the classic single life game mode. First to 6 rounds is going to be your victor for this game number 5. Let's hop on in. Conundrum on screen, the Showtime player inside that map number 2. Let's see if he's got the magic here on Berlin.
Oh, they got to. Honestly, they have to. I mean, both these teams got to have some kind of magic on their hands. And even then, they both definitely have it. I mean, you see a perfect trade coming out, a flash of a second, and both teams are already down 1 player. So making this an instantaneous 3v3.
Conundrum flying to back up his teammate. Nobody on the A site right now for JVSU. Perch has the boomstick in hand. The bomb can go down, and I think Conundrum spotted that lens flare, so they know there's a sniper on board. They know it's going to be a little bit of lackluster defense, and the shot's going to miss, Purge. I bet you wish you could get that back.
Oh, most definitely. Honestly, I'm just excited, man, to see snipers once again. I mean, I'm sure a lot of these teams after Cold War, an entire year with no snipers, they say, hey, yo, are we playing Warzone? Why are snipers out? I just immediately got sent off the map. It's now sitting at a 3v2, favoring the likes of GVSU.
Conundrum outside is finding the equalizer. Still on the inside, Purge and Infamous. We're going to make their moves here. A little bit awkward. I don't think Infamous spotted that player, but the door was shut on Conundrum on the outside. 12 seconds to make something happen. Time really against him. Conundrum's going to find the Infamous. Purge all alone. Hits the hit marker. Is able to finish it up with the sidearm. But UWindsor collapse, and they're going to find round 1.
And that's all it comes down to. Getting that pressure on the bomb site, making yourself have that advantage. Create some kind of leeway, create some blackmail, say, you can go ahead and slay out all day, but you still have to eventually come to this bomb site because you got to hit something. You got an objective to worry about because we saw you were a little lackluster when it came around to those objectives on hardpoint, huh? Well, let's go ahead and manipulate that, create some more pressure for you, but keep the time a little bit more lackluster.
Into the second round. Purge. Running it up. Right to the side. Joke's going to get this bomb down. Conundrum, though, hiding in the shadows, Mick. That is going to be a tough one now to work with. Bomb down. Purge. Look for the answer back. Gets into the site, but it's 2 down out of hands. Conundrum dancing like a butterfly right now on the inside and singing like a bee.
What a quick round, man. Honestly, I didn't really see much that went on there. I just kind of blinked. And next thing you know, I'm looking at the scoreboard again. That entire round, I mean, that just shows what Windsor's going to bring to you on that offense. And that's a big problem. I mean, when you sit there and get yourself an aggressive team like that, going ahead, making themselves known on the field, saying time in, time out, whenever it comes around, to getting on to that side of the field, getting onto that side of the map, getting that aggression. When you're on the defending side, I mean, we saw it in hardpoint, and we saw not too much merit to it. But when you're already fragging out, and when really just playing your life is the objective, a side objective to the main objective that is getting that bomb down, there's so many check marks you have to really just kind of look at and take care of that it's a little bit too much sometimes.
On the inside, Conundrum again, keeping up with the carnage. That's 3 in a row, 5-1. Bombs going down as well at the A side, and this is what GVSU struggled at in that first round. And you're looking at Purge on screen. Long flank to make something happen.
Yeah, extremely long flank. You got to sit there and make sure your teammates can collapse with you at the same time. Otherwise, it's not all going to be for nothing. And there, you go ahead and pick off the sniper. That's a great first pick for the likes of Purge. Ooh. But in the meantime, your other two teammates have fallen on the other side of the map. You go ahead and get those calls and say, all right, well, he's where the sniper was. You guys just go ahead, hunt him down, and go ahead and give ourselves a third onto the board.
It was a good setup, but a flawed execution.
Look at that. It's clean.
And you upgrade to that automaton, but Cure's got one too, and Cure quick to the draw. 3 rounds out of the University of Windsor. Lancer is making Search and Destroy look like it's their territory.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, the way they're going ahead, just stomping out their opposition. We talked about it usually earlier whenever you said that, you know, back-to-back-to-back kind of rounds. It all came down to who won defense. Well, Windsor's now won offense, defense, and offense again. And now they're defending. And if they bring the same level of aggression as they did last time, they could find themselves an easy round. And as it's already looking, they're going to follow suit.
Bobby! I mean, the round just started.
Yeah, it did. And it just ended too.
I want to get that back. Jesse said it yesterday. He's like, I wish we had best plays so I can see that. The lineup just formed. The stars aligned for Bobby, and just like that, 4 quick rounds.
Even if we don't have best plays, I mean, at least give the players a chance to vote MVP at the end of the game for customs. I mean, that'd be a little fun switch up. We get to see the highlights and be like, yo, this man got a bunch of kills and he's got a little bit of a highlight. But instead, we're going to go right into this next round where you're already going to see the aggression come out once again. And we're going to see Bobby on a 7 spree right now. So if you're a GVSU fan, this is a big problem. You got to take care of this guy.
Here, a little bit of fight around back. Joke looking to push the aggression. Still alive, even finding it. But Infamous lines up too. The answer back that you much needed if you are the Lakers. As the bomb is going to be down and now in a very peculiar position for Windsor to have to go collect. And Bobby on the hunt and behind. Always seeming like he's running some kind of route. Looks like there's eyes on him as well. Around the corner, gets spotted out. Infamous now 3 into the round. Misty last alive and last to fall.
Oh, so finally, on the board is an answer. It's a very slow one, but honestly, that's all you need to work with. Show that you can get yourself on the board. Show you can slay out. Show you can kill all 4 members. And get yourself around, because Berlin, we don't see too many kind of ninja defuses. We don't see too many players alluding to getting themselves off site and wandering around the map. Instead, they just want to play on the site. They know how massive of a map it is, and they just want to play the safe route. And I don't blame them with how huge it is, how many lineups you can run into, and how we've even seen some snipers being brought into this map. You can't peek a window for too long, otherwise you're going to see yourself respawning in the next round when you've already either lost that point.
Not even that. That was a kind of subtle ace for Infamous as well. As 0-4 going into that round, now 4-4, looking for 5. Spots out Conundrum, wraps around the side, but a little too overzealous. Conundrum has his number. An opening for UWindsor now, looking for the 5th.
Most definitely is looking for that kill streak to be playing off of, but I mean, honestly, that's still going to be without reach. I mean, you find yourself a 5th, but it's not all in a row. It's not all within one life, but you do go ahead and start where you can. You find yourself one this round, and another teammate finds another, so you go ahead, you create a 2v2 scenario, but you got to get that bomb down still. You got to create that leverage. You got to create that leeway for the rest of your team. You got to get whatever intel you can, and finding that pick right there in the middle is going to be a perfect way to open up the map.
Smallest shoulder peak now, Misty in a 1v2. Bomb at the B site going down, and Misty actually in a really good spot. Brooks just around this corner. Joke on that bomb site. Is Misty going to be ready for that first gunfight? Well, a lot of positions to check. Not a lot of time to make this happen. 30 seconds left. 7.5 to get that defuse as well, and you need to find both kills before that happens. It looks like Misty caught with a stun out. Another round on the board for the Lakers.
The great answer to go ahead and get a second onto the board. Back to back. This is it. This is a shift in momentum for the team to say, all right, we've won 2 in a row. We can also win both sides of the field. I mean, sure, it was a little bit scrappy, and we had to also get another player into a clutch situation, that being Misty. That one player that we really just haven't seen too much out of. I mean, sitting at 1-4 right now, if anybody's going to be in a clutch, you're saying, oh, why couldn't it be Bobby? Why couldn't it be Conundrum? One of these 2 players, they would have actually won that out. But Misty, you got to have at least some kind of time to wake up because, I mean, honestly, we see that kind of player in both squads, Joke and Misty, really not stepping up to the plate this time around, and you've got to have some kind of contribution.
Starting to find a basis here. In Berlin, Purge having trouble looking through the window. Finally, spots out Conundrum. Nate is cooked. Don't think there's any opening for it. Shut him down. Still worry of getting onto this bomb site and putting it down that there's somebody who's just going to peek up from the shadows and take him down. But this is going to be a safe plant. Bomb's going down into 4-4. How are we going to see this rebuttal?
I'm loving how right there we saw Conundrum on the site, still scared to plant, even though Misty was giving him that coverage. He's kind of like, I don't really trust you, Chief. But we still see everybody going ahead, duking it out, finding trades onto the board, 1 for 1 on each side. But now it's Windsor who has to go ahead and hold down that spike, or that bomb, excuse me, able to go ahead and hold it out. But, I mean, GVSU making a great answer, making things really look good in terms of manpower.
Conundrum the lineup, but no, it's not. It's going to be Purge. Walks on in, clutches things up, and keeps things going for this GVSU comeback. What was 0-4, now 3-4. Welcome back, Lakers, to this game number 5.
Yeah, welcome back is the best way to go ahead and explain it. They got to go ahead and double down, though, because this is only 3, and we saw the likes of Windsor get 4 in a row. So, I mean, this is where things really got to step up. Windsor saying, all right, this win is really getting out of our grasp right now. This is a big problem because what are we doing differently? Honestly, I want to say the aggression isn't there anymore. You're letting this GVSU squad go ahead and compose some kind of solution. Go ahead and create a new alternative here on the map instead of just having that aggression that you had earlier. And, I mean, honestly, they were slaying out with it. You saw Conundrum doing his job, Bobby doing his job, everybody really just going in, fragging, killing, and not worrying about all the other little nitty-gritty kind of complications. You just go ahead, win a round outright, show that bomb doesn't even matter in the big scheme of things.
Silent right now on the map. Nobody wants to make the first move. And I don't blame them. It looks like Joke finally putting the first foot forward. Misty might be able to shut this down. Bomb goes down, and Misty finds a second. Huge plays out of the automaton player. Locking down that B side and now putting GVSU on the disadvantage. Infamous giving away their spawn or their spot, top third. A little bit of nade. But the shots just a little bit better out of UWindsor right now. Purge, they know where both players are. Mick, it's time to collapse. UWindsor looking for 5. Like I said, this might be where you're going to pull ahead back into that match point. You got 30 seconds if you are GVSU to make a move. You got to make it soon as Purge slides on in. Doesn't spot the player behind. Bobby pops up. Infamous last alive is going to get in for the plant, but it looks like these players from Windsor, they're collapsing, and they're collapsing fast. Infamous gets it down, but Windsor are going to 5.
Yeah, that just was not enough there. I mean, we saw GVSU, a huge split there. I mean, Purge going on the outside of the map. Sure, you win a flank play, but you got to get that bomb. I mean, that is not down. You have no plays to be working off of. You have no leverage in this round. You're going for some kind of crazy play that just has no kind of incentive. And that's just really, really tough of a scenario to put your teammate into, as we see Infamous really just getting kind of locked out, not much to be working off of. But instead, I mean, this is what Windsor needed. They needed a mistake. They needed somebody to mess up or overextend. And I mean, honestly, Perch just handed it to him on a silver platter.
This could be it. I mean, Windsor down 2-1 now. They find a hard point. They overcome their obstacle against the Lakers. And now pushing 5-3 on Berlin Search and Destroy. We're headed to the A side. It looks like, no, it's a fake. It's a fake. This gamble that the Lakers went for a full stack at A. Now, player number 5, you're looking at Perch to go big.
You most definitely are, and you're also looking for a player on GVSU to go for this flank. I mean, a massive one at that. We haven't seen it earlier. We saw Windsor time in, time out get super aggressive and also play super slow here, but they finally changed that pace, and Perch just there on the read, able to go ahead and get a massive flank. You see all these players allocated to the back of the field, but you don't have a player there in your spawn to really make an answer, to get the read of where everybody is. Joke is the first one there, but Cure's going to go ahead and rat him out, get that kill, and say just keep watching that side.
Purge shots on. Oh, the nade in the follow-up. Missy's going to find Purge. 2 down for GVSU. Boxer's going to put Infamous in a 1v4. It's got to be the clutch with only 20 seconds left. Conundrum, he's going to fly. He's going to put things through, and your University of Windsor Lancers gold team are going to take game number 5, 6-3, and take the series in a storm of Berlin.
Yeah, most definitely, and I think that was purely off the consistency from start to end. Sure, they had a little bit of a slip-up, and they didn't find themselves a couple rounds in a row, because that's when we were, GVSU may be coming back into this. But, I mean, when it comes around to just going ahead, getting back on the field, saying, let's change at the pace, let's go ahead and create a little bit of a curveball now for them to be dealing with, that's a big problem for the likes of GVSU. They didn't see it coming. They didn't want that game to slow down. They wanted Windsor to keep on making those mistakes, get over-aggressive, say, now we're getting used to this. We can take these punches all day. We can go ahead and counter these. But when they never get thrown at you, instead get thrown to the side of the field, that's a big problem you're not really adjusted to making.
It's a large problem that we saw in both search and destroys from the likes of the Lakers. The Lancers, they had it on lock, both in the Tuscan and on the hard point. You start to see a little bit of slip up halfway through. It was an excellent comeback of 3 rounds in a row. But in the end, you just saw them clutch up. You know, you saw them just mental reset and get back into things. Now looking at the stats, back on Tuscan, it was the Conundrum show. Here on Berlin, Bobby Soxers as well, stepping up to the plate, 10-3, and not to mention Misty at that B site on defense, finding constant picks just to leave that bomb in a very peculiar situation that the Lakers just couldn't come back from time and time again, Mick.
Yeah, and I think it also comes down to these players that I feel like a team is only as strong as their weakest link. And we mentioned it earlier. We talked about Misty and we talked about Brooks and Joke. And honestly, I didn't see enough out of those players on the likes of GVSU. Misty stepped up with a huge double there on that last round to go ahead and set the precedent and say, look, this is how this round's going. If I'm going to be stepping things up, we're taking this home. And honestly, that's exactly what they did. We just didn't see enough out of Brooks. We didn't see enough out of Joke. I mean, that entire game, that entire map felt very lackluster on their behalf, and quite honestly, we got to see them step it up next week. Even look at those damage numbers. It's not enough to really cut it.
Especially when you are in a pool of teams as deadly as the Northeast A division. Let's take a look back at the maps of the series, because this started off with quite the showing at a GVSU Esports with a 250-113 win on GVSU Hardpoint. We head over to the Search and Destroy. It was a bounce back from the Lancers. University of Windsor 6-1, a very heavy showing and a very dominant Search and Destroy showing to open up that second game mode. We head back to Hardpoint for map number 3, the swing game. As close as ever, University of Windsor had the advantage the whole way through until the third set of rotations when GVSU stepped up and said, no, this is our map. We're the Hardpoint team. We're going to take that map number 3, take that lead back. We head over to Tuscan, that map number 4. University of Windsor, once again, they just step up to the plate. They start finding their finesse. They fill their roles, and they take that map 4, sending us to Berlin Search and Destroy, where they had a dominant 4 rounds in a row to open up the game and a dominant close of 2 to close things out. University of Windsor now going 1-1 in the day, 1-1 in their debut for the CCL 2022 season. And what a game. What a series, Mick.
Yeah, I'm sure they really needed that. I mean, especially after taking a loss to St. Clair, you're saying, all right, look, we took that to game 5. This is a super impressive team, seeing how they stacked up against Northwood. I mean, able to go ahead and get as much points on the board as they did in that search and destroy. You're expecting, all right, well, if we face the people who face the top dog, it's kind of like one of those, food pyramid schemes where you go ahead and see, all right, well, if you're down there at the bottom and I'm here in the middle and I can go ahead and at least fare against the top, I at least better be able to take care of the one under me. And I feel like that was GVSU. And I mean, as ashamed as I am to say that, I still feel like they have a lot of potential. They just got to really polish themselves up. We just saw a lot of times where, the objective was just kind of a back thought for them, which is a huge problem. You just didn't see a lot of trades that were worthwhile. And even then, I sat there and saw plenty of times where they were playing as a pack, but you still saw players funneling in. I mean, you didn't see any breaches from multiple angles. Instead, you saw them going ahead and moving around walls, player by player, getting picked off and saying, whoa, there's somebody to our left. All right, well, where was that call a second ago? Why didn't you just keep running with us and we wouldn't have this issue to be dealing with?
No, and when you look at the overall kind of reach for today's record, it's 2 complete showings in both best of 5s, both going to game 5 for University of Windsor, but back in against St. Clair, they won 2 hard points and lost. They went 2-1 in hard point and 0-2 in search and destroy. When facing GVSU, they go 1-2 in hard point and 2-0 in search. So kind of polar opposites. They flip things around, but they still get the job done this time around. So a 3-2 victory, game 5, they ice up, and that's what you need at the end of the day to open things up in the Northeast A division. So folks, this is where we're going to end today's broadcast on the Bravo stream. We saw 3 excellent matchups looking throughout the rest or the series that we did have, but it's going to come to an end. Week number 1 of CCL was nothing but impressive, Mick, and I love that we are back here.
Yeah, I'm most definitely with you. I'm super happy. Love the CCL community. Love casting here on Call of Duty, especially with the guys here on the desk and you as well. So, everything's said and done for this week 1. I know we're going to wrap it up, but I don't want any of you to go anywhere. Go ahead, get us a follow on Twitch. Make sure to go ahead and stay in this ecosystem because we're going to be right back next week with a heck of a lot more.
Same time, same place next week. College COD week number 2. You don't want to miss it. We'll see you there. Have a great night, everyone.